So it's been 2 years since I last recorded part 3 of this series, but it's finally time to get to part 4, the last of the best pieces that you can use in MOC series, which is specialty Lego pieces. I've got a lot of good ones today, guys. There's a brand new piece that just recently came out within the last year or so, D-Snot. Best new piece ever. Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to show you guys why I love this thing. Some of you probably already know, but we've got a lot to go into, so let's get into this. All right, so I'm bringing in my 8x16 plate. We've talked about this piece before. This is just gonna allow me to attach some of these pieces. The first specialty piece is this. It's actually 3 different types of pieces, but it's called the curved Lego plate, specifically with the holes through them like this. This piece is actually now available in a couple different sizes. This 1x2 has been available for quite some time, but recently we got a 1x3, and then I believe this is the newest version, the 1x4. So we have a lot of different variations of this piece, and they all work really well together. So obviously you can make like a little robot arm, but that's not what we're talking about here. Let me show you in practice why this piece is so awesome. So I've got my first little example here. This allows to basically make bendable walls. This particular design, I'm using the 1x3 and I'm putting just a normal Lego brick here, but instead I'm actually using a snot brick, and that's allowing me to put a little bit more detail in between the walls, so I can have like a slightly, I don't know, maybe like a 15-degree angle wall here, but then I have some detail in the corner. Now you will see that I am using cylinder pieces here on the side, and that's how you can maintain the curving mechanisms on this design. So basically the curved plates act as the bottom linkage, and then in between bricks you'll use curved pieces. It doesn't have to be the cylinders. This is just one example. All right, for my next little specialty piece, it's this right here, the 1x1 2-plate high piece. It's fairly new. You might be thinking, why is this a specialty piece? It's just another brick, but it's actually this ability of the hole right here, and that actually makes it a specialty piece, at least in my eyes. Well, if we take this little bar piece, this little small bar, this is also a fairly new piece. It's honestly a specialty piece in its own, but this allows us to do a reverse stud technique. When you combine the two, you now have a 4-plate long reverse studded technique, and I actually love this. This is what I used, in fact, on a lot of Geonosis was utilizing this technique. This is by far the best part of this piece, is the fact that you could do this, but that's honestly just kind of touching it. This isn't the best way to utilize this piece, but just saying that it is possible. So this other technique is just so clean, and utilizing this in MOCs is just chef's kiss. All right, so I just want to take a quick break here for a second and talk about saving money on Lego. We're always trying to get a good deal, myself included, and that's where the sponsor of this video comes in, TEMU. Now, I know what you're thinking, but I gotta say, I was a little impressed talking to the TEMU team. First off, they do actually sell legitimate Lego, and that's actually why they wanted to sponsor today's video, is to let you guys know that it's not just like third-party products. They actually sell genuine Lego products, specifically Lego Star Wars sets at incredible deals. And I went ahead and picked up this retired Republic fighter tank, and I got this right here, the Mos Espa pod race, this right here, the Ahsoka T6 Jedi shuttle, and good old Jedi Bob's Starfighter. Now, all of these sets came in under retail price, excluding the fighter tank because that's been a retired set, but the deals on all of these sets are pretty good. I'll put the prices on screen right now. You be the judge for yourself. So TEMU is offering official Lego Star Wars sets, and at great deals. And it gets even better. With new users, you get $100 utilizing this coupon code. So I'll link that down in the description, or you can use the QR code right now on the screen. That code's only good for the next 24 hours, so you only have a limited time to take advantage of that $100 coupon. With that said, I gotta say, I am quite impressed, especially the fighter tank. And let's make sure this is legitimate Lego. Yep, that looks like Lego to me. Yeah, all the minifigures are here. This is not a knockoff product, so that's good to see. So make sure you use the link down in the description if you want to get great deals on official Lego products. I'll link all my favorite sets down below in the description. Thanks again to TEMU for sponsoring today's video. All right, next is another little tiny piece. I know you've seen this before. We call this the baby bottle piece. I have to put it on the plate because it's so freaking small, but this one, super duper useful. Again, we're gonna bring back the piece we were just utilizing And you can see this also fits in it like so, but this is the real reason I bring up this particular baby bottle piece, because if you take the stud with a hole through it, again, that's when you see a hole through a Lego piece, there is so many opportunities. But if we take this stud with the baby bottle piece, that's right, that is another reverse stud technique like so. That is awesome. That's even smaller, right, than just doing this technique. So you can see the size differences here. So we have studs going outwards and studs going inwards for reverse stud techniques. This is why I consider these specialty elements, is because you can do kind of illegal techniques, and these work so well. I mean, obviously, if you want to flip a plate upside down, or in this case, a slope upside down, you can do so. I've used this in rock work. I've used this for spaceships. This is an extremely useful technique. And the baby bottle piece, again, can be used in other ways. I will say, when you put the stud together on this, it is very tough to get it off. I think it's technically an illegal technique. And then again, going back to our curved plates with the stud through them, you can also reverse it with that. In fact, you can take two baby bottles, reverse it like so, and then you have an even more stronger reverse stud technique. So that is another option. And same applies if you want to use the 3-1, if you want to use the 4 length. You can see here what I'm talking about, how these pieces can be combined with each other, and this is where the magic happens, guys. All right, so for my next piece, this is a fairly common one. It's been around for a very long time, but it's basically a 4 studded side 1x1 brick. So this has a particular name in the community. I just call it the 4 stud little 1x1. It is what it is, but this thing's awesome. You've probably seen it used in a bunch of different ways, but one particular way that I most recently used it in my Dara MOC was, again, we're taking back another piece we just showed, that 1x1 2-plate high piece. If you take that and you combine it, well, turns out that's actually a exact height on the side of a Lego plate, so that's awesome. But we can take that further, right? So we can start stacking these like so, and you can keep doing this infinitely upwards, and then you can basically make columns. I'm just putting plates here. You can use tiles, curved, whatever you might be, but this is just an easy way to get something like this. However, you can again take this much further. I specifically used this on Dara, and I believe it was Rich Boy J that came up with this technique, and he showed it to me, and I was like, oh my god, this is genius. If you just take some plates and put some curved slopes on the side like so, and you surround this design, well, then you have a really good tree trunk design. Now, I have this kind of broken up so you can see the layers, but what I would do is just literally build these slopes upwards, and you can literally stack this. And I know what you're thinking, well, this is probably a flimsy design, the studs come off. Surprisingly, no, it actually holds up together. Now, you can reinforce it utilizing like bars, so you can put that in between. Because all these pieces have holes through them, you can reinforce it utilizing bars, and that will make it even more sturdy. So great tree design, but that is just kind of touching the surface of what you can use this piece for. And you can see the underside looks pretty cool. All right, so this next piece, you probably have never seen it. I was actually just like scrolling through Pick-a-Brick, and this popped up, and I was like, what on earth is this little piece? It's like a T-shaped size piece. I don't know if the community has named it anything. I don't see any builders utilizing this piece, and I can see why. It goes for a lot on Bricklink. It was only available in like 1 or 2 sets. I think it came in like some Mario set, but it's a really, really cool piece, and let me show you why. I actually used it most recently in my Geonosis MOC, specifically in a Droid Factory as railing. So we have our 4-length bar, again, lightsaber piece. If we attach it here and take a second one of these, it perfectly is 4 studs apart from the next one. And if we take a shorter bar, so this is the smaller 3-length one, well, if we put those together, it is exactly 3 studs apart. And that's great. And then, well, what about the even smaller little bar piece? Well, if we combine these like so, you guessed it, 2 studs apart. So you can do 2, 3, or 4 studs apart. I think we've just scratched the surface. I mean, it doesn't have to go like this, right? You could reverse it and kind of have different angles going on and all that jazz. I just think this is the coolest little piece. It is most certainly a specialty Lego piece, but in my opinion, underutilized by the community because it looks so cool. All right, my next choice is this one, the Lego hot dog piece. Yeah, this has actually been made a little bit more famous as it was used in the Eiffel Tower, I believe. I think in dark gray as greebling. But I love this piece specifically when you start to combine it with other ones. So let's bring back our little 2-plate high 1x1, right? We were looking at this earlier. If we again use that, okay, sticking out like so. But if we take the other piece, we can either do that, and now we have a curve to our Lego piece. So, you know, if we want a slope piece like so at angle, yeah, that's possible. But you can also do the opposite. Now, what I really like to use it for, though, is utilizing these plates. So again, bringing back the circular curved plates with the holes through them. Again, you can add these on the hot dog, and then now you have really cool angles. And what this will allow you to do is, if we just take a little plant here, now we have a far more dynamic looking plant. If we had a couple of hot dogs around each other, you can see all the different angles, and these stay put, right? They're not bending down. Yes, you can use hinges and other pieces, but this just allows you to get different angles. So what I like to use the hot dog for is greebling as well as getting particular angles. I actually use this piece specifically in my generator to get like a nice little curved angle to attach slopes to. It was a very strange technique, but it was all done utilizing the Lego hot dog. All right, next is the lollipop piece. Again, love this piece, just like the baby bottle little piece. These things are so freaking useful. Again, we're gonna take these plates. I swear these little plates with the holes through them are so freaking useful. If we put the little lollipop piece in like so, then we can go in and combine pieces together. So we're actually gonna bring these plates back, and you can see that if I want to combine all these like so, now I have a nice, secure, connected angle with some really good friction. And, you know, maybe that could be a robotic arm, but you can take this a lot further. You could use this for plant foliage. You can reverse this, and now you have a basically bar sticking out. So if we take our other piece, well, we can somehow use that now. Probably not the best use of the piece, but we can also use our other piece like so and do something like that. Now that's just one example of how to use the lollipop piece. The lollipop piece can be used in a variety of ways. You can take two of them, put those together, and then you have two bars against each other. It's just really getting that stud on the side. Now, it's most commonly used, I feel like, by the fan community as being able to attach foliage, right? So you could do something as easy as that. That's allowing the lollipop piece to really be quite literally clutch and come in handy. So that's an easy way to attach shrubbery to the ground. So I see a lot of people doing that technique. All right, so we're getting towards the end. I just want to talk about these two pieces right here, which is the candle piece and the double-bladed lightsaber, specifically long version. This, I believe, showed up in Monkey Kid sets for the first time. Again, we'll bring back that little baby bottle piece here on the plate. If we take the double lightsaber, voila, now you have another cool agreeable piece, but you can take the candle and add on to that, and you can build up like that. And then you have a really nice thin looking column. And then we can honestly start adding things. So then you can add that hot dog and kind of go crazy with it. And then if we really, yeah, honestly, we can go crazy with it. Yeah, so that works. And that works. You get my idea. I mean, you could just do wild things with these pieces, but the candle piece can be used as a greeble technique. All right, so for my second to last piece, this is called Flex Tube. I'm sure you've seen this before. It comes in a few sets. It's a fairly rare piece. Now this one, the shorter version, I don't even know what this comes from, but you'll most commonly find a longer version of this, right? In like the Jabba's sail barge, you get a brown version that's really long. And the purpose of the Flex Tube is quite literally to flex it and bend it. Super duper useful. And when you do bend it, it holds its shape for the most part. The more you bend it, the more it'll hold. And this is obviously just basically a bendable bar. The bar is nice and straight. It's plastic injected. This is more like malleable plastic that you can move around. I will say, once you do start moving it around, you're kind of stuck with the way it looks. I mean, you can definitely move it again, but it's hard to get it back to being straight. Now, some examples that I've used this in, this is something from an unreleased MOC that's going to be shown here on the channel here in a few weeks, actually. If you're watching this video later, it's the Urbana MOC. So In this example, I'm utilizing Lego barrels, and what's connecting all of these pieces together is, you guessed it, flex tube. So you can see, right, it's bending. I love this, and it allows just for the slightest amount of flex to give me what I need. So for example, if I want this particular angle, you can see there's just a tiny bit of flex there, and that allows me to connect these studs together. And you can see I'm using a whole bunch of different pieces here. If I take these barrels off, I mean, you can see there's the flex tube right here. You can also see, yeah, it's seen better days. The second you start putting any type of axle point down a flex tube, well, it works, but it looks so bad. It's unfortunate what happens to the tube, but it is just a reality of the type of plastic that Lego used. And if you're covering it up like so, it doesn't even matter in my personal opinion, though. It sucks when you want to take something apart and want to reuse the flex tube. Well, it's definitely not going to look as pretty as when you had it nice and bare on like day one. You can also see I'm using it right here as a column as well. Here it is, the best Lego piece ever. It's called D-Snot. That is what the community has called this. It was introduced with Speed Champion sets, I believe at the beginning of 2024. And this is a game-changing piece. Let me show you what can be done with D-Snot. All right, so for my first example, I just want to show you, because the stud is lowered, you can literally connect it nice and flat like so, and then you have a nice connection point. And if you take a 1x1 brick, it actually stacks up perfectly, so it's nice and flush, nice and clean. That is super duper nice. Now, you might be wondering, well, why don't I just use the 1x1 2 stud heights like snot piece for this instead? What's the point of D-Snot? It's actually this curving part on the back of the piece. Half of it is curved. It's just flat on one side with the stud just at the very top. It's a very weird looking piece. That's why we call it D-Snot, is because it's kind of in the shape of a D, specifically on its side. And what that allows you to do is, I have this example right here. So, normal snot bricks, you can only face it forward, so like so. But what the D-Snot allows you to do is now you can angle it. Because of that curve on the back here in a corner, for example, you can get it at different angles, any angle. And so you can start to make things like this happen. So for example, we can take some slopes here and, can play around and get some different angles, and that's cool. But because again, the infinite amount of curving you have here, at least the limits of whatever this piece is behind, you can start to do some really wackadoo things. So you can see here, that lines up perfectly because the D-Snot's connected, and that's actually in there, right? So this little slope piece here with a plate connected to the D-Snot, that all adds up. So what this basically allows is just more ability with the Lego pieces to get different angles, different things that just weren't really possible before, maybe with some like really wackadoo techniques, but I mean, this is just how simple it is. And that's so clean, and it's nice and tight in there. So that's awesome, but we can take this further. You can see here we have just a half a plate size now added as that little lip. And what that allows us to do is when we put a Lego plate on the side, you'll notice that with the headlight brick now, that is all perfectly even there. And this, and combined with some cheese slopes, allows us to get a perfect flat angle right here. Super useful. I love this. It is super satisfying. I have a few more D-Snot pieces here. I'm going to put one here on the side like so. So we have a stud facing outwards. I'm going to put a plate in between another D-Snot piece, and that's going to give us an exact 3-plate length. And then so we can attach a 3-length slope piece, for example. Then we have a little slope here on the side, and we can again take this further, and we can put a little slope piece here like so. This is just super useful for rock work. That is my favorite thing to do with this. Can add another D-Snot, put this on the side, and now we have another stud going upwards. I highly recommend getting like a couple hundred of these pieces because you can go through them so quickly because they're so useful. They're amazing for rock work, but that is just touching the surface of what's possible with the piece. In fact, I can also use it with the plate with a hole through it and the hot dog piece, and now I have a way to get a very strange angle with a little stud here on the side like so. Again, plenty of opportunities. You can see how all these pieces really combine against each other. All right, so that wraps up all of my favorite Lego pieces to use in my MOCs. I mean, these little tiny things are what allows me to do some of the craziest techniques in my MOCs. A lot of these are fairly new pieces that have just come out within the last few years. So to some of you, this might be the first time that you've seen these pieces or at least thought about using them in MOCs. Maybe you've seen them pop up in Lego sets, but you didn't understand what you could use them for. I will just tell you straight up that these are pieces you should absolutely have in your collection if you're working on MOCs. It's just the absolute crazy abilities with these is unparalleled, especially the D-Snot piece. D-Snot is the best. I love this piece. I actually have a couple thousand of them now. That's how useful the piece is. And you will see me using them all the time in every single MOC going forward. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm sorry it took so long to get part 4 out, just only 2 years after part 3, but I'm glad we can finally conclude this series. Hopefully you can go back and go see part 1, 2, and 3 and see all the different Lego pieces, in my personal opinion, that make MOCs so much better, the best out of the bunch. Hope you guys have a great, wonderful day. Thanks again to TEMU for sponsoring the video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.